My name is Stella Jiziogu. I'm a registered nurse here in Canada. I watch Nigerian movies. I enjoy it a lot. Some make me emotional and some are just pure fun. I have watched a lot of them. Not that I can name the names of particular movies, but I've watched a lot of them, and they are telling most of these flashy, rosy information that some of them doesn't really show the real picture of the true life here.
My name is Olushola Omokiati. I go by Shola. I'm a registered psychiatric nurse. I did my training in Nigeria. I had my RN at Abo Hospital, and I proceeded to UBTH in Edo State for my RN program. I worked at Psychiatric Hospital Yaba for 5 years. Then we got a job, myself and my husband, then. So we relocated to Dublin in 2003. And I work at St. Vincent Teaching Hospital in Dublin for like 5 years. Then fortunately for us, Canada has been my dream country. I don't know why, but I've been praying that if I want to settle, I want to settle in Canada. So we saw Nurses Wanted in Canada, we applied, did the interview, and we were brought in like a royal family when we came in 2008. My first time of entering limousine was when I came to Canada. We were lodged in an hotel for 6 weeks. I arrived Canada November 24, 2008, and I started my career as a nurse in December 1st, the same 2008. While I was here in 2012, I decided to proceed my education. So I did my completion of degree in psych nursing. Then I had my degree program. From there, I went to Walden University in US, and I did my master's in developmental psychology. So presently, I work with Abata Health Services for almost 15 years. Then I joined the military as a civilian mental health nurse. So at the moment, I'm working with the Edmonton military base, the healthcare system, as a mental health clinician. When I was in Nigeria, I do watch like a Christian movie, like Mount Zion movie, and it has nothing to do with Western world. And I do watch some Nigerian movie, but I was not really cautious about whether Canada, Europe, or whatever. I can't remember the name of the movie, but I've watched a movie that presented Oyinbo land to be like, oh, a place of gold that you can just pluck money. When you get to Canada, when you get to America, you can just start like that and be picking money because everything is on a platter of gold. They portray it as if you don't have anything to do. And when you are watching some of the Nigerian movie, they portray it as if it is like that when you're in Western world, everything is on a platter of gold. You don't need to stress. You get to Igbo land, you get a job, you can do anything, which is not true.
My name is Mrs. Irene Gogo Brown. Occasionally, if I visit a friend that is already watching, otherwise I don't put it on my own because I have no time. Our expectation before we came as a couple was better life for our children. Ordinarily, we wouldn't have come because both me and my husband, we are shared staff. So we had all it takes financially to look after ourselves. But because of the unsteadiness in the school and a lot of corruption going on, we decided to migrate here to give a better life for our children. Because even before we left,
I have a sister-in-law who spent almost 7 years in the university because of ASO strike. So the learning culture was not really there. And one of my sons started medical school in Ibinidio. I remember for the first time, we were dragging benches, dragging lockers, dragging foam. Nothing was prepared, yet we were paying so expensive. So the whole thing about education for our children in Nigeria was in a mess. That was number one thing that made us migrate.
I have a belief that the system here is well set up, whereby you can have time allocated for your breaks, real time allocated for your vacation. If you work, you get paid, and you can use that money to really support your family, support yourself, and do other things you want to do. The other expectation is that I believe that the way Western world is set up, that you have more opportunity to navigate and grow in a greater way. So those were my expectations, and I do believe that a lot of them are coming to pass. The money part is good, but the expectation on that is that you think you are making a lot of money and you don't start thinking ahead of time of how to plan yourself. So you are carried away by helping solve the family problems, maybe friends or relatives you want to happen as much as possible. When you now realize that you've not really had enough you've kept for yourself, plan for yourself, sometimes it feels like you've not really met that expectation, but you worked so hard and you are still working so hard for it.
My realities exceeded my expectations, and I give glory to God for that. The maximum of my hope was come here, like I told you earlier, come here, set up a family, have that middle class income, be able to pay for food without running out of money, be able to pay for children's basic needs, healthcare, education, clothing, basic needs, not necessarily luxury, basic needs. And if there's a need for me to travel to Nigeria, I just came back from Nigeria, went to bury my mom. If there's a need to fly to Nigeria or from Nigeria back here, I won't need to go borrow money from my relatives who are traders. By the way, when I came abroad the first time to go to sabbatical, I had to borrow money to complete my fare because the university gave me 20,000 naira at that time. The ticket was about 110,000. The university gave me 20,000 naira, so I had to borrow from my trader brothers to complete. This wasn't my vision of being one of the most elitist contributors to the Nigerian socio-economic environment. So I felt that we were being shortchanged. And my experience here, to your question, far exceeded my expectation. My expectation was just, if I could just survive without borrowing, it would have been a better life than I was living.
My name is Nneka Otobolo. I've been in Canada for 8 years now, 8 years plus. I didn't know what to expect. In all fairness, in hindsight, I didn't know what to expect actually. I was coming to study. I came with an open mind. I knew I was going to a foreign land, so there was a need to with that knowledge that I wasn't in my country, Nigeria. So the one thing that took me unawares, I would say, was the knowledge about the indigenous people here in Canada. So that was the one thing I didn't expect. And learning more, understanding about their lived experiences and how their lives have been for centuries was interesting, intriguing, and it was great. For me, it was great knowledge.
Good day. My name is Dr. Uchenna Godwin Okerafo. I'm a permanent resident in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, and I'm currently the president of the Igbo Cultural Association of Edmonton, IKEA. My expectations, to be honest, I left South Africa, Johannesburg, because of security. High crime rates in South Africa or Johannesburg was becoming too alarming and no longer a safe space, especially for an immigrant from Nigeria, because the tension is just too much, and there was no future for somebody like myself that is into the education space, academic, high post-secondary. It became an environment where you are not sure of employment. Canada became an option, and looking at Canada prior to going into the express entry pool and all of that, the expectations were so high. The way Canada was marketed and it's being marketed, I think there should be a review of that perception, because I believe for some of us coming from a developed environment, coming to Canada, I don't think the story is correct. It's being painted like Canada is the solution to human or life challenges, whereas the reality is when you come into Canada, it's not the same. It's like you starting life all over, and some of the things we take for granted in territories we are coming from, when you come to Canada, you realize that these are setbacks that you have to deal with. So for me, the expectation, I'm a bit disappointed. If you go online, social media, Facebook, YouTube, a whole lot of bloggers and immigration consultancy firms or personnel paint Canada as a place where everything is rosy, where all the neighborhoods and environment are fantastic. But I tell you, as a new immigrant, you find yourself in the wrong neighborhood. You ask yourself, is this truly Canada? Because crime exists, but nobody talks about crime. Though it might not be in the fashion we've experienced or we've known about it. Then another area is child care. The cost for child care is above the roof. For young families, I will caution that Canada, for me, for young families, is the wrong destination, because it's as if one of the parents must sit at home. If both parents must then work, then you are just working to pay bills, because daycare is not coming cheap. It might be a different story for families that have support system. Probably they have kids that are grown enough to look after the younger ones, or they have grandparents of relatives already in Canada that could provide those services at no cost. But if it is for a neutral person, child care is on the high side. If you look at housing, that is something else that is also expensive. You don't get affordable housing in Canada. They are all expensive. And what is the minimum wage? For a family of three, I will use my family for instance. Let's take for instance, I have 2 kids, my wife and myself. We need a minimum 2-bedroom for us to start life. Okay, if you want to go with a 1-bedroom, you're looking at 1,000 plus. None of this is coming cheap. And the big one is the job. We painted a picture that there are jobs with no human labor to get these things executed. But I tell you, I came into Canada with various qualifications. I was a lecturer at the University of Johannesburg before I came here. My PhD and master's degree were in environmental remediation, metallurgical engineering, but I've not been able to practice any of those. It's disappointing. Maybe I'm privileged to have a 3rd or will I call it a 4th degree in teaching, which is what I do right now as a teacher. I'm that privileged. But how many people are in the same boat as myself? So the jobs that we are being told are everywhere on the street, at the corner of Canada. You find jobs everywhere and nobody to do the job. I'm still waiting, looking forward to those jobs because I've not seen one. People come in, and if I speak for myself, economic-wise, I don't think it is true. And one last thing I would say in terms of comparison, everything, majority of the things here in Canada just, I think, is exploitation. I'll give you an example. Take, for instance, the cars we drive. You pay for insurance for these cars. You don't claim, but the next year, instead of the premium to be reduced, it's still going up. What are they trying to do? For me, I think it's not fair for immigrants, because the born Canadians that have been here for 10 years, 15 years, born here, or whatever the case may be, their premiums are not as immigrants. Are you trying to ignore the experience we bring in? I started driving in year 2000. I came in 2020, 20 years of experience driving, accident-free. I still had to go through the grassroots, or like the lowest level of driver's license before I could get to class 5. That's just an example. And these insurance companies take advantage of things. So for me, the expectation has not been great.
It doesn't have one straight answer. That doesn't have one straight answer. So thank you for that. We have so many things we aspire and we look forward to achieve in life. I would say that the expectation of getting registered, practicing as a registered nurse in overseas, I've met that. I would say the expectation of being a part of the global healthcare team, I've met that, because by the grace of God, I've practiced in, say, 4 countries in this world. So I'm so grateful for that. So I've been able to work with other people. I've been able to see how different healthcare systems are set up. And I've also been able to see some of the struggles some nurses do go through. Now, on my part of the expectation, the part that I'll say I have not really come to where I would love it to be is that I didn't think that after over 20 years of nursing that I would still be doing a full-time job. My expectation was that by this time I will have a lot of flexibility to do other things that I really desire to do in life. And I don't know, that's my personal expectation. I would have loved it if I started early to set things up, so that by this time that I will be very flexible. But I'm working towards that, and I'm glad I will be there. Some other people might have expectations that are different from mine. But for me, it's one of the biggest ones. I did not anticipate, even right from Nigeria, that I will be working full-time for 20 years as a nurse. I thought that by now I will be flexible to pick and choose what I want to do. The reason is because when you start working here, a lot of things are put on you from your family, and you want to support as much as you can, especially as a woman. You want to help alleviate problems for others, and when you turn your eyes, 10 years has passed, and you are still doing the same. And the things you want to do because you want to keep supporting other people, you want to keep carrying people, hoping that one day people will be okay. It seems like you're not actualizing it. And so for me, that's my biggest, I would say. Now, I don't know if it would have been different if I have stayed in Nigeria. But I think for me, that is still a work in progress. So that's my expectation, that I will have flexibility to do what makes me happy, especially helping relationships.
The reality on ground is, before, I think we should just take it easy to really, I would say, have somebody we can trust that is already on ground, that can just spell it black and white and not overprice or oversell Canada to us, because the reality on ground, I tell you, is not what it is on paper. a whole lot of information is required. Number one, if you're coming to Canada as an African immigrant, you must be ready to put in 2 times the effort that your white counterparts or other humans would do. There is that bias against us African, blacks for instance, to be precise, that you have to prove yourself 10 times for you to be given that acknowledgement that is required. Not minding the fact that a bunch of us, 90%, 99, 100% of black immigrants are highly skilled professionals before coming to Canada. So my advice would be, before making that move, ensure you are willing, ready to start all over again. Not in all cases, but in most cases, you have to start all over again. It's like a baby that is born again and you learn to crawl, walk, run, and maintain stability. So you must first be ready or have that mental readiness to start life all over again, irrespective of the experience, position you've occupied in the past. Another thing is support system, very critical. If you're coming to Canada and you are a young professional, young family, you must be ready to shoulder that responsibility for child care, because it is a critical thing. Families end up going into disarray, not because they don't love each other, but because of the tension or the disappointment that comes to when you find out you can no longer do that job, that profession, the way you love to do it, because somebody needs to be home, somebody needs to go pick up the kids from daycare, somebody just has to be, one of the parents has to just present to make all of these things possible. Something else that we must have in mind is that the jobs, breaking into the job or the workforce is something that requires resilience, because it's not an easy environment to break into. The Canadian experience is something that is critical. They don't take it for granted in this part of the world that we need Canadian experience. That I understand because of the cultural difference, the workplace culture and all of that. Yes, but a lot of immigrants coming must be cognizant about the importance of a Canadian experience.
I think to a larger degree, my expectations are met. Like I emphasized, my children's education. For me, as a professional, back home I was a registered nurse, a registered midwife, a senior public health nurse, and having worked with Shell Hospital, which is number 1 in the whole of West Africa, because it's a British hospital. My heart desire was fulfilled. By coming here, I was hoping to transfer my knowledge. But having come here, we were expected to rewrite and challenge the board, the nursing board here. For here is a College of Association of Registered Nurses of Alberta. So I had to go back to the university, and they will ask you your area of specialization. Unlike back home, if you're a nurse, you can work everywhere. But here, the more specialized you are, the better for you. So I went back to the university to read mental health. And up to date, I'm working as a mental health therapist for the government of Alberta. Number 1, you have to let down your ego. Because if we come here in Canada with the purpose of your big humanity, in quote, nobody here wants to know where you're working, whether Shell, Ajib, AP, Sonko, Slumbaji. Nobody is interested. All of us are equal here. Whether you're a lecturer with PhD or you're a cleaner, we are all equal. We have no driver. You're cleaning with dignity. You're cooking with dignity. You're a nurse, you're doing it with dignity. So there is dignity in labor here, and that's one thing that a lot of Nigerians don't know. On the road, somebody can meet you and say, "Do you know who I am?" Here, nobody cares. Whether you're using limousine, you're using Toyota Corolla, you're riding, nobody cares. So if they come back here and bring down their ego, willing to learn, because learning is compulsory. Whether you're an engineer, you're a doctor, you're a lawyer, you must challenge your examination. And it starts with English as a second language. And it's so annoying. At the time, I made a lot of noise because Nigeria is English. I said, that's the only language I know. I schooled in UK, I schooled in the US, yet they wanted me to write English as a second language. You can imagine the insult. I had to go back to the university and do English as a second language. Of course, I excelled because English is our language, but you must start with that. So if you can't pass English, a lot of people didn't pass, and today they're driving buses. You see doctors, lawyers, even nurses are working as healthcare aid. If you can't pass that English, you can't even come near nursing. You can't. You have to pass English before you get admission at university. So let's lay down our guards and just pretend you're a common man. Nobody cares whether you're a politician back home or your father is the president. Everybody is equal, and that is the joy. So, and they shouldn't leave if they have a good job. You will start from the scratch here, because you can't just find that good job here on Plateau of Gold. I remember before we relocated, one of my cousin-in-law was telling me, "Madam, you and your husband shouldn't leave share work." I thought they were joking. I came here and started as a what we call ward maid in Nigeria, not even auxiliary nurse, ward maid, the people that wear green, that wash the bed pans, that dress the bed, that sweep. That was what I did for 1 year while I was challenging my exam. After then, you work as a licensed practical nurse, just like a auxiliary nurse back home. Then before you qualify as a registered nurse here is all and all. Even if you have PhD in nursing, nobody cares. When you write your name, you write RN. That one surpasses whether you have a PhD degree in nursing, no matter what you have in nursing. That RN is our recognized language, and it makes everybody equal. So for those of you who are actually relocating for greener pastures, if you have a good job, God has blessed you, stay where you are. You can be coming for vacation, because if you abandon the job and come here, you are going to start from the scratch. And it will pain you when your children's mate or your younger brothers or sisters mate is controlling you as your boss. It can be a 21-year, 22-year Chinese girl who has been doing nursing before you, or 30-year-old, Caucasian who is your boss, and you can't even say, "Do you know who I am?" Because by the time you finish, he humbles you. So that is why you see here we are very humble, because everybody is equal. No matter how much you are paid. Have you seen anybody driving anybody? There is no money. If it were to be in Nigeria, 5, 6 o'clock, the driver is here washing your cars and everything. I remember, with Shell, I had how many drivers to take me around, plus my own personal drivers. Back home, for Saturday, Sunday, you have another driver. Monday to Friday, you don't even know what. But here, you learn how to change your tire. You learn how to gauge your oil. You learn how, my dear, it's nice. It's nice. The security system here is excellent. So the advantages are more than the disadvantages. Before you came, my door was not even locked. When I wanted to open it, I remember you can imagine 6 morning. But even if it's opened, I do evening shift, I come home around after 1, 2. You won't even see anybody outside. Nobody is threatening you. But can you do it at home? No. At the time, we were even hiding share calendars and share books, because if armed robbers come in and see share calendar, you'll be in trouble. So as soon as it's given to me and my husband, we give it out, because we don't even want anything to make people know you are working in share. So the security, the amenities, no power failure, no water failure, nothing. Healthcare in Canada, the best. You don't pay for anything, no matter what you have, except you're a visitor. If you're a visitor, you have insurance, but no matter, I can't be sick today and I'm thinking, where will I bring money? Except you don't want to go. So God has blessed us, those of us that are here. But if you don't have any aim and objective, just want to come and live here, you will regret it. you will regret it because you can't even make the money. A room here is about some places 1,800. Check 1,000 Canadian dollar. So for you to be paying like almost 900,000 in a room, who will hear that? Then you have 2 bedrooms about 13,000, 15,000, 1,300, 1,500, 1,500. So when you change it, it's what you pay for 1 year. But if you don't work hard, that is why time is money here. We don't waste time because you need to pay your bills. There is no abeg inside. When you don't meet up, they just cut it off. So if you're disciplined and you're ready to work hard, this is the place for you. But yeah, if you want to bring Nigerian lousiness, I don't care. You won't make it. You will just be frustrated.
I think so, because at this point, we have so many people that have migrated to this place. And it breaks my heart to see people frustrated, depressed, because what they saw on the movie is not the reality of ground. Now, I don't want to say Western world is not a great place to be. It is, because they have a system that works, for sure. But the system here in the Western world is completely different from the system that is at play in Nigeria. So where I see people being lost is that the movies are not saying exactly what to expect. So let me come to when you even enter the flight to come to Canada, for instance. When you enter a flight that's taking you from Nigeria to either Amsterdam or to Frankfurt, you see there's still a lot of your people with you. When I say your black people, once you enter the flight that is coming straight to Canada, you begin to count the heads of black people that are in that flight with you. So that tells you that everything is about to change. And when you enter Canada, everything is different. The system, the financial system, the way you run your marriage, the things you think that you can make and decide whatever you want doesn't work that way. For your children, the school system is completely different. The way they are taught, the things they are taught to say, to tell them, it's different. The healthcare system is different. The way you even talk to people is different. Canadians are nice, so which means you don't use bad languages. So these things that are not being taught, and you didn't get those information, even mortgage, buying houses, the loneliness that is here. Because back in Africa, you get to talk to different people. Here, you find out that you're alone most of the times. So nothing prepares people with those things. When you watch the Nigerian movies, when you come here, you find out that it's completely different. The reality is different. You talk to people, you have to modify a lot of things about your life. And one of the biggest one is the family life. The family life, because nobody teaches people to sit down and plan and ask themselves questions. When you're leaving Nigeria to come here, who is going to play what role and how are we going to navigate it? So I think that's one of the biggest disappointment people get. Their marriage was maybe functioning well in Nigeria. Their relationship was probably functioning well because there's role distinction. But when you come here, whether the man or the woman makes money, both of you must sit at the table, unlike where you're coming from, to make a plan and decide how you will be running your life. If you have children, you don't have babysitters. You don't have people at home helping you. You don't have your mom, your dad. You don't have your brothers. You are left alone with your husband or your wife, which means it cannot be business as usual. I don't know. I don't think Nigerian movies are really portraying this part.
Coming to Canada from Nigeria right now, I mentioned to you that I just left. right now, okay? I'm not talking of 10 years ago or the next 10 years. Right now, the way Nigeria is, I don't think you need any information if you have an opportunity. Because if you have an opportunity to be a janitor in Canada, you're better than a professor. At least you go sit down, eat food, basic food, and sleep in your house. No stray bullet will hit you. And if you are traveling on the road, you don't get kidnapped. Your family is not mocked on the street. Nobody shoots you. You are not living in perpetual fear of that or getting poisoned by people who don't like you. I'm not describing heaven. Of course, Canada has their own challenges. But again, when we do all this comparative analysis, you are forced to say, what is the most important thing for a young man or a young woman who has the next 40 years of their life? What is it other than this is the country of your birth that you are going to take and put on a spreadsheet and say, oh, you know what? I better just keep doing this. If you were a politician or you are connected to politicians or you were in some kind of relationship that makes you part of the reasons or that connects you to the pipeline where I'm trying to be very sensitive, to choose my words correctly. If you are connected to, okay, let me describe Nigeria as an oil pipeline. Okay, let me describe Nigeria as an irrigation duct, the water that irrigates a farm. If you are connected to that pipeline and you're collecting your own water and drinking, okay, I'm not talking to you. If you are in those farms that are selectively properly irrigated, I'm not talking to you. But I'm sure that this question is asking me to address people like you and I, who are not even, the GPS not even finds they with the farm. We did there. The water where they fall on us now rain, and it's been drought for a very long time. I don't think they need any information to know that if they get one opportunity, you owe it to your generation to explore it. If you know what, the road to Nigeria is still, your house to pay for things. If you know what, the only advantage of being down is that you have nothing to lose. I think that's the truth that our people deserve. Not to tell them, oh, anywhere, if you're coming to Canada, no, you have to pay more taxes, or there's racism. There is tribalism in Nigeria too. I was in Unical, I couldn't be vice chancellor. It's in the law. I couldn't be vice chancellor because I'm not from Cross River State. But now, if I'm in the university, I could actually be a chancellor. So I think that's the better answer for today. 10 years ago, maybe a different answer. In the next 10 years, by God's grace, when God bless Nigeria, a different answer. But it will be unjust of me to not give you this answer. Because if I lose my job and my wife loses her job, government will start sending us unemployment checks and we'll still be able to feed the family. Is there really any information anybody needs before they decide to look for life for themselves? I don't think there's any information anybody needs. Any information is Jara, but yeah, that's it.
I am still living the Canadian dream. I have where I'm headed to. Currently, I have had wins and I've also had struggles as well. I'm currently the first female Black Sea Chief Operating Officer of the Foundation for Black Communities. For some people, that might be out there looking at me might say, yes, she's achieved the Canadian dream in such a short time. But I believe that everyone is still striving for something. We're all a work in progress. I am a work in progress. I might feel, okay, I've achieved this on a pedestal, but I think I still have overarching goals that are guiding me, or that are my North Star. So I have where I'm headed to. I don't think I'm there yet. We all think Canada is great, but it's large, landmass. Going from point A to point B was stress. I used public transport and I was not used to that. Navigating the school system. I was a student. Navigating the school system, I wasn't used to that. Racism, anti-black racism, or black racism, it's real here. So there were struggles. Leaving the comfort of home, of familiar places and people was a struggle. But like I said, coming with an open mind, knowing that you're going to start off fresh, you have to start building relationships, building your own community. So you've left a community back home in Nigeria, but you're here building your own community from the scratch. When you get to a particular age, you would struggle, but that's where having an open mind also helps, supports. There were struggles, but every day we overcome it. We miss home, definitely, but we keep trying our best to connect with the communities we've built here, learn to navigate the system, and also give support to other people. Give back support to newcomers as well that are also coming to Canada for the first time and trying to navigate the system.
So for those people who wants to come to Canada, number one, know that Canadian system is so different from Nigerian system, or whichever country in Africa you're coming from. It's completely different in that there's a lot of laws. There's so many laws here that you need to know. When you come here, like I said earlier, in the family life, the family system here, I'm not saying it's not good, it's good, but I'm saying where we are coming from, the man provides a lot of times. When the woman is working, most times it's still the man that makes the decision. But here, if you want it to move smoothly, carry your partner along to what we have to do. So get that information. Make up your mind that you'll be willing to change your mindset somehow to make it better for you. Another thing I would like anybody listening to know is for childcare, you don't have the support you have in Nigeria. The man that probably have not been involved in carrying the kids, feeding them, you need to learn a little bit about that so that together two of you can make it work. For the educational system, they do teach kids a lot in school, that to let them know if there's anything or if they are hit or something, to let them know. So it's not Nigeria that you say is my child. Once your child comes here, becomes Canadian government child. If you don't learn about the law, they could take your children away from you. Finances, you have to study and find out about the banking system. There's a lot of information online. And there's a lot of people spreading information too that are living in these countries, especially like Canada. You get some real information. Whichever province you are going, go to their website, find out their housing system. Find out as much as you can for you to survive and thrive well in overseas. Don't sell everything you have before you find out where you're going to. If you have relatives here, when they are telling you things, don't say they don't want you to come. They want you to come, but they want you to know what you're getting into. Nigeria, you can pay your house rent for 1 year and you're good to go. The bills here come every week, whether you work or not. It doesn't matter. And if you have a mortgage here, you fail to pay it 1 month, 2 months, they foreclose your house. If you buy a car and you're not paying the car payment, they will take your car away. So it's not like Nigeria when you build a house, the house belongs to you. Here is different. So when you hear people in Western world saying bills, if you are coming from the Western, from Africa to the West, please learn about the bills. Every week you pay bills. You pay for your electricity, or you are paying for your gas, or you are paying for your mortgage, or you are paying for this kind of bills, and that's basically what life is all about here. So you pay for living here. So what I'm saying to you people, and what I will advise, is do please listen, think it through, and make the decision. Don't be in a haste because everybody's leaving. Make a decision so that when you are here, you are well informed and you have a better life. Thank you.